Fermentation of all. Now he's just making me look at like I'm Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's 7 p.m. I will call our Monday, April 15th meeting to order. Roll call. Joel?
Here.
Leah? Here. Jim?
Here.
Ethan? Here. Tyler? Here. Adam?
Here.
Okay. Dr. Slarty? Has our meeting been properly noticed and notified? Yes. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would someone like to do this?
I will. Mount Horeb Area School District, in partnership with the community, is dedicated to nurturing, educating, and challenging all of our students, preparing and empowering them to be productive, responsible, and self-fulfilled members of society.
Thank you, Jim. Number 2, agenda. Would someone like to approve our agenda? Motion by Leah, seconded by Adam to approve our agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? To the approval of our April 1st, 2024 board regular and executive session meeting minutes. Someone like to make a motion? So moved.
Second.
Motion by Carly, seconded by Joel to approve our April 1st, 2024 board regular and executive session meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 3, addressing the board, FFA.
Yeah, please.
Would you start by introducing yourselves?
Let's work here on behalf of Mount Horeb. Hey, I'm Roman. This is Matthew.
I know, it's an awkward space.
So I'm Roman. This is Matthew, Mahoney, Logan Schwer, and Odin Schaller. We've come for your approval for our 55th Canada fishing trip.
We'll be leaving on June 16th, and we're set to return early morning on June 23rd. There's 22 students and 12 adults scheduled to go so far.
We are traveling to Jet Lake in northwestern Ontario. We take up pickup trucks towing boats where we camp on an island on a lake the size of Lake Mendota, and we have a permit to camp on the island.
It's all run by students. We organize into committees, like food committees, setting up the tents, setting up the trucks, and who's ever riding with whoever's camping with whatever. And then we have to get the food, get the ice for the coolers, and the chaperones provide the boats, motors, and other stuff like that.
We'll be fishing, swimming, and playing cards. We also take hikes to waterfalls and surrounding lakes. We'll see eagles, gulls, loons, ducks. We also see bears, moose, and caribou.
Any questions?
What time should we be there? How many times for each of you guys? Got the boats full?
This is mine and Logan's third.
Okay.
What has been your favorite activity, favorite thing to do?
My favorite thing is honestly isn't the fishing. I just like to hang around camp really, just with everybody else and play cards. But fishing is pretty fun.
Yeah, I like it's like a little community. Like we're all kind of like friends by the end of it. We all just like know each other pretty well because we're staying together. It's fun.
Which of you boys caught the biggest fish?
You?
I think
And show me how big it was.
I think it was like.
Yeah, that's spoken like a true fisherman.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? No? Let's go ahead.
Just real quick, I'd like to acknowledge our FFA teacher and advisor, Pam Allen, who's in the audience, who sets this condition and allows for it to happen each year. How many years will it be for you?
This will be my 33rd as a teacher, and plus I went 3 times in high school. They didn't let freshmen.
Well, thank you for your leadership.
Would someone like to make a motion to?
I make a motion to approve the FFA's request for their 55th annual Canadian fishing trip.
I'll second. Motion by Jim, seconded by Carly to approve the FFA Canada trip to June Lake, Ontario. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So wonderful time. Come back when you're done so we can see pictures. Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy it.
3B, board member recognition of Jim Myers. All right, Jim, I'm gonna do this and try not to get choked up. Jim, when I reflected on your time on the board, what immediately stood out to me were your efforts to work collaboratively and build relationships with fellow board members, with the district admin team, with the principals, teachers, and students at the schools where you were the liaison. In addition to your efforts and time commitments dedicated to learning about ways to recognize and reward our staff, thoughtfully approach referendums, and using your expertise to support the district finances in your role as treasurer stand out. Plus the new ideas that you learned about at the state education convention and brought back to the district, which we have all been acted upon. You have been an advocate and a supporter of policies that support student and staff well-being, the operation of referendum that allowed us to give historic raises to all staff, improvements to our facilities, buildings, and grounds, and the academic achievement of our students. I have two examples I want to share that I believe really encapsulate your tenure on the board and your dedication to the staff and students. One, as Joel reminded me the other day, whenever staff presented to us, you consistently asked, is there anything you need from us to make your job easier? And two, as you yourself pointed out to me the other day, we do this for the kids. I know that sparked your desire to be on the school board, and that's what's driven your decision making the entire time you've been on the board. Your actions and your advocacy as a board member always and clearly articulated that we are here for our students and staff. Thank you for all that you've contributed. I'm proud of the work that we've done together. We will miss your thoughtful questions, comments, and recommendations, and we will miss you.
Can we get a picture of all the board members together and sharing of the plaque?
Oh, nice, good job.
Sure goes in the front.
I was gonna say, the front, I mean.
This is your flag, this is your flag, you have the whole flag.
No, you're good.
We tell us to shift around to the right.
Honestly, I think you guys did a really good job. Okay,
This is
ready?
our first rodeo.
Yeah, right? All right, 1, 2, 3, smile. Awesome, I'm gonna take one more. 1, 2, 3, smile. Got it.
Thank you.
All right. 3C, board member oath of office. Sarah and Tom, would you like to join us along with Leah?
Come on down. Remember, you have to raise that hand thing.
Yes.
All right.
That's tough.
I do this once a year. All right, do you have a sheet to read off of? You don't have to, I'm gonna say it, but. So just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Tom Schlarbacher,
Having been elected to the office of the Board of Education
having been elected to the office of the Board of Education
of the Mount Horeb School District,
of the Mount Horeb School District,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
You are sworn in. Ta-da!
Can we get a picture signature on a couple
Yes.
of documents, if you don't
So,
mind,
You
please.
guys can sign this one first. You can sign right there.
And as a small token of our appreciation for all of our citizens who are giving of their time and talents, we thought we'd also have some
It's a big signature.
delicious cheese and crackers. Please help yourself. There's some bottled water too, in order to celebrate tonight.
Thank you. Almost done.
Alrighty, 3D, school news. Ethan, I hope you are going to start with the recap of the band show.
That was actually my plan.
Band.
Yeah. So our band show just finished up over this past weekend. We had pretty much, I would say, 3 almost sold out, if not sold out nights on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I mean, just generally, I think it was pretty good overall success. I hope you guys had a lot of fun who were able to make it out to the band show.
Just fantastic. Good job on the bass.
Awesome, thank you. Then I also have, this Thursday, our Mount Horeb Senior Future Problem Solvers team is leaving for state. I know our next meeting is kind of a bit out in the future, so I also have our spring orchestra concert is coming up on Thursday, May 2nd at 7:45 p.m. And Unbelievably Prom is also on Saturday, May 4th at 8 p.m. So we're kind of coming up to the end of the year pretty quickly.
Yeah, I had prom on my list too, but maybe a couple of other quick items that'll be happening even sooner than that. Wednesday night, the district will be hosting its 4th parent engagement session of the year. This one has to do about grading for learning, and both of our middle and high school principals will be there to help talk a little bit about the work that our faculty and staff has been undergoing over the course of the past 18 to 24 months or so. That takes place at 6 p.m. over at the high school cafeteria. All are welcome. And I also wanted to remind folks, business leaders and others within our community, that we continue to be taking bids for our scoreboard, our stadium scoreboard space. Final bids will be submitted by April 29th, and we look forward to making those announcements soon as to the final prospers there. And then lastly, survey. School Perceptions has worked with the Board of Education to complete a survey about our facility needs. That survey will be distributed to families in U.S. mailboxes likely by Thursday of this week. Faculty and staff have received their copies of their surveys thus far, and we look forward to getting as much feedback as possible as to the good work of the Facility Steering Committee.
Related to the grading night next week, Aubrey, thank you for the article and the Facebook post, the video already. Nice job on both of those. Do other board members have things to share?
Friday is the Mount Horeb K-5 PTO mini prom, 6 o'clock at the IC. And if you don't want to come dance, we do have a silent auction with amazing stuff, so you can just come to us stuff. And see the kids all dressed up.
I wanted to just take a minute on the band show, not only to thank Ethan or congratulate Ethan on that hard work, but also Phoenix on our education committee did a tremendous amount too. The other 2 things I had are, I want to thank Mr. Killinger for taking our Skills USA students to the state competition last week. They spent 2 very long days at the Allied Energy Center. So great work for both of those students. And then yesterday I had the opportunity to go to Oregon High School along with our top 10 scholars, to recognize the top 10 scholars from each school in the Badger Conference. So special congratulations to Alexander Ayuthia, Nicholas Baden, Delaney Cronister, Abigail Edseth, Ethan, our own Ethan, Helen, Brianna Ratzlaff, Jasper Rothenberg, Maddie Swigum, and Spooks. And thanks to all the educators who helped them achieve all of that.
Given me 15 yards for piling on the band show, but I had the unique experience of my 25-year-old nephew being in town from Pennsylvania with no background in Mount Horeb, and he turns to me about 4 songs and he's like, "Why are so many people in the band?" I said, "It's a cool thing to do here." He was really impressed, so it's nice to see that through someone else's eyes too. One other note, the track meet, home track meet next Tuesday. Hopefully you get some good weather. I believe there's, 120 kids out, something like that. Another one with huge participation numbers, so really neat to see.
Awesome. 3B, citizens' comments. All right. Number 4, personnel transactions. Is there anything to note, Dr. Sloan?
There is an addendum this evening, board members.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved with the addendum.
Second.
Motion by Leah, seconded by Jim to approve our personnel transactions. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 5, the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull out to discuss? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Adam, seconded by Leah to approve our consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Number 6, discussion items. Our community and village liaison member reports. Adam, Education Committee.
Absolutely. Got a nice meaty one here for you. We had a nice visit. The centerpiece was a presentation by our library staff at all levels. Jackie Baker, Angie Bronze, Kimberly Hillary, and Gretchen Malin. It was a really good discussion about how their roles have evolved over the years. Library is obviously more than a book, and now it's a lot more. Digital and tech resources were a lot of the topics that came up, and the discussion was prompted by a review of their strategic plan, and they mentioned it was almost impossible to judge their work against their target goals because their jobs have evolved so much. Their plan does focus on 2 main goals, which is community partnerships and collaboration on curriculum. And it's important to remember how much of a conduit they are for the teachers and assistants for the teachers, and providing support for the kids, resources and whatnot. Also, good news, the library media specialists have been working with Aubrey to promote their work and to learn more about grant opportunities that are out there. We asked them what their biggest challenge is, and not surprisingly, it's time. They do spend a lot of time doing tech assistance and troubleshooting, and all of them still go the extra mile to make sure they're doing the other 25% of their core learning capabilities that they really love, working with students and faculty on digital and physical learning resources. And looking ahead, we talked a little bit too just about the importance of resource curation in this age when you're just flooded with information, and the important role that librarians can play there. Looking ahead, a lot of curiosity and some unease about the impact of AI, and they're going to be front and center with that. Just a couple other quick notes. Cool thing here, mentioned Mr. Killinger again. UW Stout is going to host a Fab Lab training session at our place here in July, renting out the space and get to show off some of our facilities, which is really cool. We are moving ahead with a purchase of our CKLA curriculum for grades 1 through 5. That showed up on the legislature's approved list, which we knew it would, but we got confirmation, so we're moving forward there. And we already mentioned the community education session. And I think the last thing is just to mention, if anyone is interested, that our education committee, next one is at 5 p.m. on May 6th, part of the triple header of events on that night. Going to talk about the advanced learning plan and some new and revised courses.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. Anyone have any questions for Adam? The Community Coalition meets next Tuesday, April 23rd, so I have a report after that. Joel, do you have anything for the village?
I was not able to attend, but I did go back and watch it to make sure I understood what all went on there. A couple things that were germane to the school district. There was a congratulatory proclamation made by the village of Mount Horeb recognizing the new chapter that has been established. We are many united against hate in our high school. Seems like it was spearheaded by Lucas Gonzalez, and there was a whole other group of students. It did cause some discussion, and this was one of the only proclamations that they actually decided to vote on. So, but it did pass. So that was going on there, and then in the update from the, we'll talk about this more later, from the Parks and Rec group, there was a decision made on the shelter or shade piece that we put up down here by the tennis courts and pickleball. So, and there was some discussion around that about the school district's involvement in that and some of those kinds of things. And one of the comments made was that it's coming to us as a vote out of a matter of courtesy at this point. So that raises some questions for me. So we'll talk about it later.
Any questions or comments for Joel? 6B, Information and Advocacy Report, our annual capital improvement and maintenance report. Scott and Dave.
Actually sit because I think I'll be here for a little bit. I guess I'll sit too. Well, all of you may recall that over a number of years now, the district has taken upon itself to do some planning with our facilities. And I was trying to think back on Friday just how long it's been. It's been probably 7-8 years since we've been diving into this project. And for those of you that are either serving on BGT currently or have served on BGT in the past, you've been an important part of this process because we've been able to have conversations not only throughout the year at BGT, but then specifically late winter, early spring, where we're able to collaborate, update these documents, and then the second meeting, as we are right now in April, we have a conversation with you about where we stand. As you know, Dave is our guy that's been able to really take the bull by the horns on this. So while I'm speaking first, by all means, know that a lot of the work and a lot of the responsibility has been placed on Dave's shoulders, so thank you for doing that. The first document that you'll see up on the screen here is what we call a long-range facility analysis. And it's been a work in progress because years ago we started to assess just how in the world are we going to define more building envelope, big picture kinds of things. And we concluded a number of years ago that, well gosh, let's use a letter grade. It at least allows us to wrap our arms over a little bit about some of the major pieces. And quite honestly, I think we've been able to design some of our operating budgets based on what our assessments look like. And then equally as importantly, we've been able to use some of this data for previous building projects, such as the 2017 referendum. So thanks BGT and thanks people on the board for keeping this as one of our topics that we want to make sure we stay ahead of each year. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dave to talk about some of the items that are of note that are worth discussing. We don't plan on going line by line. Change it for us.
I have a little more time here. Hey, Reed, piggybacking on what Scott said here, we did develop this report, and when you look at the columns life, those numbers there come from some government assessment of this is what a typical thing should last. All right, and just like automobiles, you can get a car that's a few years old, it's a piece of junk, or you can get one that seems to last forever. These are just kind of reference points for us to say, well, the envelope of the ELC building should be good for 50 years, and here we are in year 57. And some of those things add up into what the letter grade actually is. So what you can see, when we took the ELC in general, it's not great, right? We've got an F. The roof is at the end of its life. Other things, we all know about the HVAC system in there. Not much change on that. I've been only doing what's necessary to keep the ship running and going down the river the right way. Safety, functionality, that kind of thing. A couple years ago, we were asked to add plane equipment to that as well, and so that was added at the buildings that have that sort of thing. So the plane equipment at the ELC is getting to the end of its life, or just past the end of its life. Still safe, not entirely beautiful everywhere, but we get work requests from the paraprofessionals who are out there looking at the playgrounds all the time. we go through and we check nuts and bolts and stuff like that to make sure things are right. So we fix what we have to keep it up and safe. Same thing at the PC, you know, letter grades there are pretty good. A little bit of a downgrade on the envelope, as you know, I'm beginning to look now at the bricks, the 1918 bricks. Yep, they could use a little bit of touch up here and there. If we get this this process going on, the program going on to add the ELC to the PC, that'll be addressed in that as well. IC, pretty good building. You know, it's one of our newer buildings. Not much to be said there. Not much change. Middle school, we've done a lot of work at the middle school over the last few years. HVAC equipment has been updated. The roof's been added in the last referendum, so that building's in pretty good shape. High school, again, we just put a lot of money into that building. We did a lot of extra work to that during the referendum project, as we saw, well, we had savings in this area. Let's see if we can't get this fixed as well. One thing that didn't get done is the expansion joints in the 1997 edition. This is something my career was supposed to be as a bricklayer, so I don't know why I didn't know this. That bricks actually grow over time, and the expansion joints will squeeze, and then they run into each other, and the brick's got no place to go. So, last referendum we actually loved up the expansion joints at the middle school. It's time to do that on the high school as well, pretty quick here. You know, before we have serious problems with the brick. Bus garage still remains it's fairly new, not much change there. District office, a lot of change there. We've done some things in that building, windows, carpeting, things like that. So we made some vast improvements. Parking area was redone, so a lot of improvements in that. Sports fields, not a lot of change there. Although I have to say, I have to give a shout out to the softball club for all the work that they've helped us do to the softball complex, the lights, they replaced a bunch of fencing, and they've thrown a lot of time and effort into that as well. So that's the report card for our district as it stands in my eyes today. Questions, comments?
Quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the IC roof is 4 years old, but we're already at a B+.
So only part of the IC roof was replaced in the last referendum. All the flat areas were replaced.
Okay.
There is a curved section that goes up over the gym. That area was not replaced.
Okay.
That's the thing, is like, you look at the high school that's been added on to in a number of, work's been done. So, yep, part of the roof is brand spanking new, and some of it is 15 years old, so you have to balance that and give it a grade. I don't break it up that way. So that's why the brand new roof is an A.
Got it.
The curved roof, the original roof is not so good.
So it really should be a 4/15 or.
Yeah, and we can, and that's where some of the comments come. Yep, the vast majority of the brick at the high school is fine. There's still something that needs to be done.
Okay.
That's where that comes from. Any other questions I can answer about that?
I don't necessarily have a question. This is fantastic, Dave, as always. It's really helpful. My one thought is, when we look at the ELC, although it says that our doors and windows are in good shape, what's not accounted for here is that we want to have a more secure entrance. And I don't know, how we could, or if we should somehow represent them.
Right. Okay, that's a great point. And when we talked about this originally, I don't get to analyze its suitability. Sure. Right. Our classroom's big enough. Are there enough seats in the cafeteria? It's just the physical nature of the building is it. That's what this report is about. The functionality, the security is another piece that we don't have a report for. It's more anecdotal than an actual letter grade, because it really doesn't change. And yeah, that's where we're at with the ELC. There certainly isn't a way to make that more secure without adding bricks and mortar. Yeah. Like we did at the middle school, right? The middle school was that same kind of building where you walk in the front door and there you were in the building. Yeah. We had to add that whole section to make it secure.
Yeah, but to your point about usability, because yeah, I had the same or a similar thought about when we get down to the athletic fields, I was like, oh, but this doesn't really capture, is what we have enough, so we almost need
Right,
like
are
a
there
second. We almost
enough
need like
visitor stands? Are
another.
they worth it?
Right, that's a second report.
Try
Yeah.
sitting in the front row of the visitors' football stands and trying to see the game. So yes, so as far as suitability goes, that's not what this report is. It really is just its condition.
One good thing to that point, and thanks for mentioning it, is the new strategic plan does provide an opportunity for us to dig a little bit deeper in terms of what our educational spaces look like and if they're suitable for what we're trying to accomplish.
The new referendum videos that have been put together with Aubrey's assistance helps us, I think, be able to state the case for the why, beyond just the brick and mortar kinds of things, the educational purposing. Thanks for suggesting that.
Is if I'm looking down this list, the boiler at the high school, those look to be maybe a big ticket item coming up. Is that something that would be under a maintenance budget, or is that something that we're looking at capital?
If I were to replace, okay, so just a little side, there are 10 boilers at the high school. There's 3 down by the library, there's 3 above the stage, there's 4 in the middle in the original boiler room. The 4 in the original boiler room are new. They were all put in just in the last few years. The other 6 were put in 1997 when those additions were put on. They run very well. We don't have any recurring problems with them. We do preventative maintenance. They will continue to work, and you could say there's a lifespan to them, and they are getting out there, but we're taking care of them. Just like that car you take really good care of will last you a little bit longer. These boilers will do the same thing. So that's kind of where we're at. Will they fail? They will fail at some point. Can I fix them? Probably. I probably can't fix them. They're not as bad. It's not as bad as the ELC where I have to go to the Smithsonian to get parts. That kind of thing. So
That's where we got to, right, with like the ones at the high school where I think you guys were like fabricating parts on other things.
Well, okay, so there was a referendum in 14 when we did the heating and cooling system. There was some pretty antiquated equipment in there, but that was replaced and it was added. The air conditioning was kind of the big ticket on that. So yes, we can continue to keep those boilers. What's nice about those boilers is that because there's 6, there's redundancy in there. I usually run 1 at a time. In super cold weather, I might run 2 at a time. But the reality is I do have I have reserve capacity, so I don't lose a lot of sleep over those things. So yes, and to answer your question, they're a big ticket item. That wouldn't necessarily be, now, could I replace 1? Yes. Can I replace all 6? No, not my budget.
District office siding, is that just a stain issue, or do boards need to be replaced?
I'm gathering quotes to replace the siding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's seen better days. Yeah. Right. And yeah, you can fix it. Yeah. It'll look like it's fixed and will look great. Is it the right thing to do? We'll see what the price comes in at.
Right.
That's where I'm at with that.
Big picture, you probably don't have the answer for this, but I was just thinking about it in my head when you're looking at ELC and how smart we've been, how prudent we've been on expenses, and I don't know if you can put a dollar figure on deferred maintenance on that over the past, X number of years that could be done. Just thinking about the roof alone, there's a pretty sizable price tag.
The roof alone, because it's all 3 wings.
Yeah.
I guess, there again, it's not leaking now.
Right.
I don't foresee problems, but it could start at any time. And then what do you do? As we're trying to figure out what the future of that building is, it really does come down to slapping a Band-Aid on it until we get a clear, this is where you're going. And that's kind of been that way since I started this job 8 years ago. I was like, we really have this desire to go a different route, so let's just not go too far, as you know, right? And we've been fortunate. Things have gone pretty well. But yes, there is a whole, the roof, the HVAC system alone is, the price tag on that is staggering.
Yeah.
And, do you put a new motor in your own car? That's the question we're up against.
I've been having coffee with people around the community, and they've often said, well, why is the district looking with its current community survey to attach the ELC to the primary center? And I remind people that we've tested the question twice now about what to do about the ELC. A third of our community has told us that we should remodel the ELC. A third has told us that we should build a brand new building. And another third, on both times we've asked the question, and said, we just don't know what to do. And so that's why I think the work of the facility steering committee has been so helpful in kind of getting us past that same question, because if we keep asking the same question over again, we're likely to get the same response. And so this has been the conundrum we've been in for the past several years, to your point. And so the work of the survey that's about to come out will help us discern how much, and if at all, people are comfortable with the recommendation made by the facility steering committee. But we've been purposeful, we've been strategic in our use of dollars to address the needs of the ELC, because we wanted to honor what the community told us. See, you also have some additional documents. This is forecasting into the future, yes?
Right, this is all good crystal ball stuff.
So as Steve is pulling that up, thank you. One of the things that the BGT committee addresses every spring is what Dave's budget, his team's budget is looking like for the upcoming year. And we've been fortunate that through Dave's budget, which is about $1.5 million to literally keep the lights on. But in addition, all of the maintenance in the buildings, all of the people that do their good work in the buildings. Within that budget, he's got a projects budget, and this is the opportunity in my world, in the finance world, making sure that we have a plan for how we're going to utilize the dollars, and our ability to be able to have those conversations at BGT has been very appreciated. And what Dave does is able to look not only what the needs are for the upcoming year, but then forecast out, and quite frankly, forecast out over 14 years. In this industry, it's challenging to forecast out 3 years, let alone 14 years. And what I mean by that is not so much forecasting out is difficult when it comes to some of our buildings, but when it comes to the financing and the affordability of it is where it becomes challenging. Nevertheless, it doesn't mean that it should stop us from forecasting out where our needs are and where we should consider putting our dollars. And so I'll let you take it over. You can see it's broken down by building, similar to what we've done in the past.
Right, so I have a master list of all the things I'd like to do in the building that is generated from just my being around in the district, from my team, my maintenance techs, my ground techs, principals, other people who have coaches, things like that, who have a stake in the facilities, and I have this master list of these are the things I'd like to see, we'd like to get done. And then it comes down to a matter of attaching an estimated cost to those things and prioritizing them, and then fitting them into slots that add up to $230,000. It was $130,000 up until last year. Now it's $230,000. So my goodness, I get to do twice as much stuff, which is great. But if you were to add up all these columns, in the next 4 years, they all add up to $230,000. That's the projected, where I would spend that project money over the next 4 years. And Joel, to your point, all I need is one boiler to go sideways, and this thing is out the window. And then I have to end up kicking things back a year. And some of these things are fluid. It's like, well, I'm not ready to get to that yet, or it can last another year, or something else more important comes up that, oh gosh, we really need to attend to that. So this is my projections over the next 4 years. The first column is pretty hard and fast. I've got my heart set on doing all that stuff over the next fiscal year. Going on into the future, those are kind of where my heart's at and what needs to get done. Again, subject to change depending on what comes our way. Just like at home, right? I'm sure I want to go on vacation, but then the water heater goes out. Like that, Yes, it is like that. It's very much like that. And, you know, the $230,000 does go a long way. Doesn't cover everything, you know, you know that, and that's just where we're at. So, questions on where things are at here?
I fully appreciate that this is your best estimate at this time. Do you ever go back at the end of the year and compare, like, against what you thought?
I do keep a running tally of where things are at. And sometimes I'm a little long, sometimes I'm, I tend to be conservative and go long. So it doesn't always work out that way, of course, but, you know, and then I do check against there and say, oh, hey, I can do more because I saved, this didn't cost me as much as I thought it was, or I found a different vendor to give me a better price, or found a different way around it. So, yeah, I do keep track of that at the end of the year and say how I do.
I was more asking from the point of how many of those surprises come in over the course of the year.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Every day is a curveball. All of a sudden, like right now, the lights at the IC are hot wired on in the gym, right? Because they had some computerized control thing that I wasn't aware of that died. And to replace it was, well, first of all, you couldn't get the parts. It doesn't make sense because it's programmable for time. I just want it to turn on and off. I don't need it to come on automatically and go off automatically. I just need somebody to flip a switch, right? So they're hot wired. So that'll cost me a little. I wasn't looking at that as being a thing. The chiller here at the middle school had a little bit of a snafu this spring, so that'll be an expense that I wasn't expecting. So that comes a lot, and I have outside service, an outside service budget number that I can pull from. So at this point in the year, Scott is busy scraping up all the little extra dollars and putting them in a pile. We're trying to figure out how to get them spent, that kind of thing. So the surprises come a lot, and I'm not trying to make that sensational, but it seems like at least once a week there's a what? That doesn't work now? You know, that kind of thing. They wanted to get rid of the automatic flusher at the PC in one of the bathrooms. So I had to go out and buy a new manual one. We didn't have one of those sitting on the shelf. That's $600. Yes, but
so when it comes to like supplies, materials, as Dave said, his outside services budget takes care. I see from my end, from an invoicing point of view, things where those budgets will take on these surprises. When it comes to like big massive things like boilers and that kind of thing, okay, well that is not something, as Dave described, that you can fit within this budget per se. One thing I will point out, segueing to the page that Steve has up now, is once we get to year 5 and beyond, we're starting to get a little bit away from the scope of Dave's project budget that he has on an annual basis, and we start looking out of, okay, for example, the early learning center, that first line at the top. Let's hypothetically say nothing is ever done. You know, sometimes I even think, and I hear other people say once in a while, well, gosh, you should start putting money away. The challenge is the ability for a district to be able to put significant amounts of money away for big projects 10, 15 years out when we have, you know, general annual operating challenges like all school districts have. So that's really the challenge. So once we get to year 5 and beyond, it's not suggesting that this is the plan we're going to go with. It's just illustrating what could that look like if the district truly did decide we need to start putting in dollars away every year for something big. In this case, I pick on the new roof because that's at the top of the screen, and you'll see it's a significant amount to put away every year. Mind you, it can take you 5, 10, 15 years out for that amount of money to put aside every year to get to what the cost could look like for whatever the thing is you're trying to replace. So just wanted to point out that once we get to year 5, we're kind of taking a step away from his annual operating budget, moving more toward big things if it's not something that we can replace with other funds.
yeah, there's some cyclical things, right? Seal coating driveways and parking lots and restriping and things like that these constant, they will always come up. Roofs have a lifespan, and you can kind of project out into the future when you're going to need those. It gets pretty fuzzy, you know, as you get that far into the future to know exactly where things are gonna be. So I take my best guess, and these are the things I can see out there in the future, and kind of have a little placeholder for them. The first 4 years are pretty easy to see, right? I can see that far into the future. It gets fuzzy after that.
One thing I can also add is I think back to after the 2017 referendum was approved, the following year that we worked on these documents to update them. Well, wow, there's really significant changes over the next 5, 10, 15 years with the amazing amount of work that was done back then. So we really felt in 2018, 2019, and 2020 the benefits, not only visually and what it meant for classroom spaces, obviously, but just something as simple as working on this document and recognizing, wow, the things that we were looking at needs over the next 10, 15 years have been accomplished through the referendum. So that was a pretty interesting experience to go through when we were updating this.
Definitely frees up money that was earmarked, as we look at the ELC. Any things that I've got slated for the ELC in the future, that all gets wiped off, and then that money gets freed up for other uses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't run the numbers, but there was a pretty significant amount of projects that we talked about folding in already, and then you take everything off of ELC. So do you see a lot of reallocation that we'd be able to do, or would we actually come in under some years on the 230, given what we're wiping off the board?
I can tell you, I don't think I can ever not find something to,
Does it give us
the music department came to me today with,
saying?
hey, what can we do about some of these things that we want? My budget for next year's already set, but I can say that, let's talk about if there's savings, how do I, and I fold that into next year's thing. And again, if you look back at years 1 and 2, 3, and 4 of the ELC, it says nothing. But after that, it starts to pick up. At some point, I can't just start sweeping it under the rug. I need to start doing something to fix these things. And there's some significant stuff that needs to be on the roof, the HVAC. But if we were to go to referendum and actually get that attached to the ELC, all that in the future just goes away.
A lot of that infrastructure piece was taken care of in 2018 when we came under budget by about $5.5 million on the project. The other piece that I want to just mention, because we might have people who aren't familiar with why we were able to go from 130 to 230 in our budget. We were very fortunate to have the community support our operational referendum, of which a portion of that did help defray things like our building maintenance needs, technology needs, in addition to the historic wages that have been provided. So the next step, I think, for you all is to begin demonstrating what kinds of projects would happen for this summer. You'll come back to us sometime this spring and share what projects we need to be thinking about.
Right, well, again, the first column for the 24-25 budget, on that first page of that's kind of where my heart's set. Those are the things we are, going to do carpeting in the LMC at the IC. We're going to paint the hallway. We're going to read all that stuff. That's kind of my hard and fast list at this point. The one thing that I will struggle with is getting contractors to do the work. Back to somebody asked about citing the district office. At least one of the contractors, I said, I'll see you next year. That's where we're at, and so, but that's the game we're in. And then if that happens, we'll flip flop and move stuff around as we can.
And the good thing is, this budget is for next year, so if they want to come back next year,
it's very set.
We'll welcome them.
I do have one really hard-hitting question. What is Gaga Ball?
Seriously, you don't know?
I have no clue.
Oh, dude.
I don't. Talk to me.
Okay, it's a bit like dodgeball inside an octagon ring.
Is
Combat.
that
That's what that is out there.
Oh,
Yes.
man, I thought we had
Yes.
fighting going on.
Paul Christensen wanted that the worst way, and we delivered. And what I need to have is a dedicated space for it to be not on the parking lot that I have to plow in the wintertime. So we are going to create a Gaga Ball Arena, you know. Razor wire around the fence, you know, really, and honestly, I guess it's pretty combative. I don't know, I've not seen it played, and it's, evidently they just love it.
We have closer to TV.
I don't think we want to watch
Yeah, so that's what Gaga Ball is, yeah.
Specific question on the soccer fencing. What is that project?
Okay, so the fence that separates the soccer field from the parking lot is down the hill a little bit, and it does this after a lot of years of pushing snow against it. We're gonna move it up right to the edge of the parking lot, straighten it out, make it look nice, put a guardrail along it so you can park up against it, just kind of make that look better down that. The trick is there's a lot of electrical and fiber optics, so all the holes have to be hydro done, as opposed to drilling with it. So it's a bit pricey, cemented in holes, but I think it'll make that area look so much better. I only have to mow on one side of the fence instead of both sides. Sure. Cool. Yeah, that's where my heart's at.
Anyone else have any questions or comments for David Scott?
Perfect. I'll bring pictures of the finished projects when we get them done. It goes a long way. I mean, everything, painting the gyms and things like that is a huge, people notice.
That's my favorite part is when you bring us the pictures. Yeah. I was like, oh, we're not doing pictures tonight. This is before pre-pictures.
All right, thank you both.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Moving on to number 7, our action items. Scott, you get to stay. First reading, consider removal of board policy number 682, financial reports and statements.
Thank you. So our finance committee last Monday discussed this. You may recall, this is a brief reminder, the School Boards Association reviewed our policies over the last couple of years. And so as we continue to navigate through our policy work, this particular policy obviously adopted actually before I was born. I don't know if that's good or bad. It tells you how old I am. One of the things we do is we have our standard practice, right? We go through our vouchers. It's reported in the board packet every time. Our board treasurer, thanks all of you that have been board treasurers to go through vouchers with me every couple of weeks. We have our audit requirements taking place every summer. There's actually quite a robust monthly reporting that we have with the state of Wisconsin and DPI now. That's been a massive project in the business office over the last 3 years. So while this is on the surface, you think, well, no wait, how in the world could a school district delete this policy? The reality is when the School Board Association reviewed it, they said, wait a minute, all of this is already documented in policy 623, which is called budget implementation. So when we talked at finance last Monday, we thought, okay, we appreciate that, we recognize that. That said, at the next finance meeting in May, we will talk about policy 623 to reflect on what I'm sharing this evening. The other thing that's important to note is their state statute, all the requirements in terms of how we report. I do a quarterly summary on the budget with the finance committee, and of course we have our annual meeting every August. So we have a variety of reporting that goes on. It's even much more involved than something like a bank rec. Yes, we do bank recs every month. That is also part of our annual audit to make sure that's happening, especially as of June 30th, the end of our fiscal year. And so that when we review policy 623 in finance, we'll talk more about those details, which again is already documented with the details that are here. So the recommendation would be to remove this policy. And I also failed to remind you, policy 623, that includes a lot of this. That policy, I believe, was reviewed in March of 22, so all not that long ago. Nevertheless, good idea to take a look at it with me.
Any questions, or would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to remove policy, forgot the number, 682.
I would second that.
Motion by Leah, seconded by Jim, to remove board policy 682. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Carly? Yes. Adam?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Scott, you get to continue on. Consider approval of school bus budgeted purchases for 24-25 school year.
So I want to thank not only the board for allowing us to talk about this tonight and consider it. I also want to thank Finance Committee last week because this really is a BGT committee topic in terms of the need of a bus. Obviously the finance component, as there always is, so we felt the need to go through finance, number one, because of the, the turnaround time that it takes for buses to be delivered. It made sense to try to get it done in the first part of April rather than the second part of April and the latter part of the spring. Brian Toth did a tremendous job, as you can imagine, presenting to the Finance Committee in terms of what his rationale was. The simple explanation to the process, it's not a simple process. As Brian and his transportation team sit down, they determine all the specs that they expect and want to see in an upcoming bus purchase. They then contact the dealers that we've worked with in the past to have them consider, in this case, the purchase of 2 buses and what the cost would look like. Now, interestingly enough, for the last number of years, you may recall that we've really been solid on the Thomas model from Nelson's bus service. One of the simple things to just remind you of is our current service tax. They're able to do warranty work with Thomas buses, which has been fantastic for us. Not that we've had a ton of it, but when it comes up, it's been amazing for them to be able to do it. That's no longer an option for our service tax. Thomas has removed that opportunity for that to happen. Not that that's the sole reason that we would be looking to switch. They've also made some major changes to the Bluebird model to reflect some of the wishes that our transportation team has expected from the Thomas model. We do have some Bluebird models on our fleet. We purchased those, I would say maybe 6-7 years ago. We had some Bluebird purchases. The other thing that Brian shared with the Finance Committee is, besides the items that are in the finance minutes, is the undercoating, which really protects from all the sludge and salt and everything that our roads see in the winter. We've been fortunate to see that benefit with the Thomas buses. Bluebird, according to Brian's thoughts, that's not been something that they've done. They are doing that now, and so the Monday of spring break last month, the 2 folks that work in our transportation and service area, our maintenance techs, they went out to Fleet Services by Cox Automotive in the Forest. They went out there, they were able to drive their Bluebird models, they were able to look underneath, look at the coating, talk to the folks there, talk about the changes that they've made that seem to be more in line with some of our Thomas expectations that we've had in the past. And based on their experiences and then requesting quotes, you'll see the one that's highlighted is the one from that dealership for the Bluebird model. And so it'd be the recommendation from the Transportation Department and from the Finance Committee for the board to consider the purchase of 2 buses, the Bluebird model from Fleet Services by Cox Automotive. And I will just also mention that we try to get 3 quotes, and the challenge is the third company, Mid-State, that sells international buses. That's not been something that Brian and his team felt very comfortable pursuing. Brian would be able to give you the 20-minute detailed reasons why, but he was able to share a little bit of that at our committee last week. And this is budgeted. We budgeted for 2 buses every year, just to do it.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Scott? I can attest that Brian gave an extensive presentation, filled with information, even based on a question that Joel asked about quotes and how the process for getting a quote on the bus. It was, we learned a lot.
I guess I failed to ask this last time, and maybe we should, but what is a retirement of a bus look like? Can we sell
Yeah, we've looked into trading, and most of the time, that's not an option for us. Brian does have a replacement schedule, and if we followed the replacement schedule of simply 2 buses every year, it would take us about 14 years to replace, which is why we've been fortunate on occasion to be able to purchase a 3rd bus, and that really makes a significant impact on doing a changeover of buses a couple of years lower. So if we can get 11, 12 out of them, we'll do it. That said, Brian, especially with the buses, since Brian and his team have been in the district, I'm confident we might even be able to stretch that a bit because our maintenance has been so fantastic.
We tried to maybe even sell them off at auction just to make a couple of bucks on it. We do, but the value just continues to plummet.
And yes, we have done
This is exciting though, because usually it was like Bluebird, just cross it off, because it didn't have the same specs. They were, it was not comparing apples to apples, so.
And Scott, if I remember right, the buses that this board approved last year about this time, we're still waiting on those to come in.
Yeah, last year at this time, we were talking about, okay, pandemic, what did it do to manufacturing, the supply chain, all of that. We are anticipating that 2 of our buses will get here before June 30th. I always tell Brian they have to get here, they have to get here. We can manage that if they don't, just from a simple accounting with our auditors, so that's not a problem. But we always have the expectations with the folks that we purchase from that we receive them by June 30th. And so one of the things that we learned from Brian last Monday at Finance was Thomas is now switching their manufacturing plant. And so right now, Nelson is having even a more difficult time predicting if it could even be 12 to 16 months turnaround from the time of order to the time of delivery. So just another interesting variable that Brian's not hearing from with the Bluebird model right now.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Leah, seconded by Adam to approve school bus budgeted purchases for the 24-25 school year. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
We are still awaiting word on the grant that was written for the electric bus. Aubrey, do I understand right? Maybe May-ish?
Yeah, early May, we should know.
Things are coming quick. All right, Scott. 7C, consider approval of copier machine contract. I also learned a lot about copiers.
Yeah, and I
Extensive conversation about it.
We did. Yeah, we, I will say from my perspective, I'm speaking about the buses, but, I mean, Brian Toth, wasn't able to make any send his regrets, but he's the expert. I'm the one that's speaking a lot about what he shared with the group last week. And I'll do the same on this particular topic as well, because I'm certainly not, I use them, copy machines, and I scan and do all the things everybody else does. But I'll be able to share a little bit about what Will Brueggemann, our instructional technology coordinator, who also joined us for finance last Monday. We had quite a few guests with us, so that was great. Will also sent his regrets this evening. Will, a couple of months ago, began a process of recognizing that it's time that we do a quote for a new lease for our copiers. The last 2 contracts that we've done with copy machines, we've done a lease to own, and we've received quotes for 3, 4, and 5 years. We've actually, I think, benefited from signing 3-year lease quotes. The concept behind it was pretty simple for us. If the company is willing to quote a 5-year lease with their machines, that means that their machines most likely will last at least 5 years. So by signing a lease to own after 3 years, it allows us to maintain our fleet of machines for year 4, year 5, and if we can extend beyond year 5, that would be fantastic. And in doing so, we can avoid, by owning the machines, we can avoid at least 2 years worth of one of the things that Will brought up at the finance committee was, we're looking at 27 new copiers. That's how many we have throughout the district. And Will had brought up the idea of, well, if we sign a new 3-year lease, once we get to year 5 then, 5 years from now, he would like to look at some of the low volume machines that aren't used all that often to say, hey, well, gosh, maybe they don't need to be turned over through a new lease, and we can keep them on for year 6, year 7, move them around a little bit, like a tire rotation, right? Move the copiers around to try to protect its durability. For the life of me, I can't remember who brought it up. I think it might have been Joel, was insightful enough to say, well, gosh, if that's something we're willing to do 5 years from now with the new lease, how about we think about the machines we have right now that we're under a 3-year lease. We're now ending the 5th year. Let's think about doing that right now. Did I get that correct?
I don't know if I brought it up.
Somebody on finance,
We
yeah.
discussed it.
Anyways, and so Will was able to go back to kind of get who's the preferred vendor and kind of give a note to the company that we're currently working with, and said, if we're able to reduce our lease by 5, he determined there's 5 copiers throughout the district that have a low volume status currently. What would that do to their overall lease cost for 3 years? And as you'll see up there, it's just under $730 less a month, or just over $26,000 in savings over the 3-year lease. With the mindset that Conaga is also willing to give us the same per click charges that we will have with the lease machines. So both our lease machines and the proposed 5 owned machines that we would currently maintain would all have the same per click charges. And I probably should have mentioned this up front, but in addition to the per month lease charge, there's also a per click charge. So black and white is just under a half penny. Color is just over 3 cents. But the idea behind it is when you sign a contract with a per click charge, that per click charge is our maintenance agreement. So all of the toner, anytime we run out of toner, they ship it automatically to us. They have service techs in the Dane County market area that have been able to service us for the last number of years. So we'd be able to continue with the same service that we have. But that maintenance contract allows, on the per click charge, allows us to keep our machines up and going. And if we ever have major issues, they can come and address that.
That includes the 5 we roll over.
That includes,
yeah.
And so obviously this is not something we come to the board all that often, but it's just a matter that we're up for a new lease, and it would go, this proposed would start on July 1st and then move forward with only 22 machines.
Please tell Will, thank you for being responsive to the conversation last week and getting this information to us. Does anyone have any questions for Scott?
A related question, just about copier use in general. I'm just wondering what we've done in the past several years, or what plans we might have to cut down on the number of copies, anything that we can do to cut print costs in general, and especially just when I was looking at it with color in particular.
I can't comment. A great answer would be, I'd be able to share with you our prior lease to our current lease and be able to share with you the difference in the volume.
Mm-hmm.
I do know that over the course of my career here, I've seen a significant reduction in what we're paying, both in paper, but then also the copy charges that we have. I apologize, I can't quantify that, other than to say that I've seen that. And I would certainly be happy to look more information up for the group if you'd like me to.
I think with the introduction of the Chromebooks as well, it's allowed for less paper
Right.
to be used
Right.
and more electronic, but that's just anecdotal. I don't have anything to support that financially.
We run such a tight ship. This was just one of those things that popped up. I was like, what if we could save a few more pennies by fewer copies here and there? And just like you're pointing out with the $729 a month, if there are a couple extra few $100s on there, it makes a difference over time.
Anyone else? Any other questions or comments? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I
Yeah, I'll give my intro and then I'll love to have Joel elaborate on some of his comments because they might run counter to what I was about to say. I'll start with my viewpoint of just been in discussions here for a couple of months with the Parks and Rec Committee, and they saw the need and heard about the need for a shelter outside of the paddle complex. It's primarily for sun. But there is a little bit of a rain element there. It's a 20 by 20 fabric covering. They evaluated the hard surface, and it was maybe twice the cost almost, and for not that much more of the ability. Figure once it's going to start pouring, you're done anyway. So it's more just of protect people while they're hanging out there. They're going to lay a concrete pad that's larger than the 20 by 20, and there's a little bit of an irregular shape. I made sure it is for you, Dave. They're gonna concrete over the tiny grass patch that would sit there in between the sidewalk and the pad, so there's no mowing. It'll be a really nice complement to the whole facility. If you're walking up on the path coming into the gate, it'll be over on the left, and it fits into that spot pretty nicely. It's one of the few flat spots there. So the village is paying for this out of their budget, accessible budget, and what I'd like to say is that it's another example of the district's excellent working relationship with the village in Viking Park area. One other thing that I will say about this fabric covering itself, it's from Gerber Leisure Products, which is a local company which was selected from a couple of bids, so nice to get a really competitive price from a local place and reward that for the work too. Also, last comment on that, estimated 2 months from approval to installation. So if we approve tonight, being for the majority of the warm season.
So I guess my comments are around the understanding of the partnership on Viking Park. I mean, so this was done in the 70s, that this was a joint venture between the district and the village. And as we start to add structures and things like that, I think it creates some long-term maintenance questions. Particularly with something like this, the warranty is void if the wind is over 105 miles an hour. There's a lot of different things. This is a fabric thing, which that's direct sunlight all day long. So what does that look like? I think it just raises a lot of different questions as we look at the type of structure we're putting up here, some of those kinds of things. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just want to know who's responsible for what. Because if, let's say we have a tornado coming through, is it school district personnel that has to go out and take that fabric down? Or is it the village that's going to do that? Or how is that going to be handled?
Thanks for asking the question. And since you raised that question the last time we met, we've been in communication with them just to make certain that we've got those kinds of issues taken care of. It's the same thing with the softball because we share some of that softball field as well.
Okay. As long as we have a plan for that and an answer for that, I'm fine with it. Yeah.
So Dr. Snyder, who would be responsible for replacement of the fabric awning in 7 years?
Yeah, so that's part of the conversation that we have to have between both entities. And at that time, we have to determine the amount of use. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And if it is, then I'm confident that our continued good partnership can help us get to a really good solution on that. This is just the latest example whereby we've utilized dollars in order to help support a common mission. You might remember that this board approved about $250,000 in funding to support walkie-talkie repeater signals. That was a request of the village. We didn't have really a need for them, but they felt like they needed them so that they could have their signals penetrate building structures that are more brick-oriented, and so the repeater signals was something that we took out of our ESSER dollars, if I'm remembering correctly. And they, in kind, the village in kind, helped really to address with their ESSER dollars the renovation of the pickleball tennis court kind of area. And so I'm not certain as to whether or not they intend to use ESSER dollars to help cover this cost. But I have to imagine the vast majority of the cost of replacement in such a situation like this would be less than what is the current amount because you are getting a concrete pad with this. This is really just maybe the fabric that would need to be kind of repaired in that event. But rest assured, we want to continue our great relationship with the village. Dave has a wonderful relationship with his counterpart there in the village, and we're happy to figure that out. That's not a worry.
They have a park stash essentially that they refill when money becomes available, and they have somewhere they try to keep it at $200,000 in case there's a major opportunity that comes up. They're able to do it. And they're pretty close to 300 right now, which is where they felt comfortable making this without even coming to us and asking if we wanted to split or anything like that. And it was driven by adult members of the community. I think that might have been part of it too, with the Moho Pickleball Club requesting this.
Yeah, there's no reason not to necessarily do it, other than it's, as we look like that, it's definitely a temporary structure, which brings its own maintenance issues with it. So I would think we want to hammer that out.
Thank you for thinking proactively.
I mean, I immediately see kids trying to hang.
Well, that's what I was saying, yes, this looks like a nice set of jungle gym bars, but, it might not even be just kids. Just
I think there's a similar structure at Sunrise Park that has survived for a number of years.
Yes. And that's why they base their confidence on this fabric usage.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's been up north of 15 years, maybe towards 20. And your 7-year analysis on the fabric is pretty consistent, and that's with not removing it in the wintertime.
Yeah, the village will take the fabric off in the winter.
Just looking at the quote real quick, it looks a third of it is for the concrete pad and 2/3 is for the actual structure. So I think to replace this in the future would be $20,000.
The least important question, but what color did they pick? Because there's some really ugly ones in here, and
Right, pink.
no, I'd be okay with that.
Sorry.
She's wearing pink right now.
Yeah, magnifier colors.
Do you know which one they settled on?
I don't
They were
know.
actually considering it. It was,
I've not heard of a color yet. Maybe that's, once we say.
I think so.
Then
The
it's-
conversation
next
was
question
to
is
go
called.
either a blue or green to match the courts rather than to be a school specific, because it would flow a lot. Red on top of blue and green would.
Well, the original pickleball kitchens were supposed to be purple. We said no, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I do want to make sure though that the partnership stays strong, and I mean, comments made that this is brought to us as a courtesy vote.
That hurts.
But that's kind of an issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. This is their dollars. They should vote on it. Totally understood, but
But it's joint land.
it's joint land, and that is a concern if that's an attitude. So
It's not the tenor of the Parks and Rec committee.
I don't believe it is either, but I think, to that end, as we're talking about partnerships, the idea of what it really has meant to have that partnership and the cost sharing that has been done, while we're not necessarily kicking in dollars on this, there's been other things. So.
And that's why I made the comment about the $250,000, just because people's memories aren't very long. And it's important to remind people of the good things that the district has done.
Joe, where I do think that your point carries a lot of resonance too is the fact that you're adding kind of more and more opportunities into this space. Right now, there's not a bathroom out there, for instance. So there could be an opportunity for maybe some strategic discussions about where we want to go with the whole.
I want a sidewalk from the sidewalk down to the other sidewalk.
It's also been discussed.
Anyway, yes.
Anyways, would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the shelter at the pickleball tennis court at Viking Park.
Second. Motion by Jim, second by Carly to approve the pickleball tennis shelter at Viking Park. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 8, any citizens
seeing you.
All right.
And there's still cheese and crackers here, everybody, so we gotta have some of that before we go home.
Number 9, future agenda items. If there's anything anyone would like to discuss, please let me or Dr. Smith know. Number 10, schedule of our next meetings. Anything that you would like to point out?
Not at this time, thank you.
The only thing that I would remind my fellow board members is that we do have homework, extra homework, before our next meeting, so don't forget. And number 11, closed session. Contemplated closed session per section 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, to wit, 2024-2025 MHEA negotiations.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Leah, second by Adam. Roll call vote. Joel?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Yes.
Jim? Carly? Yes. Adam?
Yes.
I am also a yes. It is 8:22. Come back at 8:30. Is that right?
Yeah, we can eat some cheese.
Yeah, there's some cheese. Come back.